Hi, everyone. Apologies for the minute of silence. I was just busy inviting all of us speakers to the stage, just so we're ready. Gentlemen from Azuro, I believe all of you have invites for speaking positions. So just check your Twitter spaces. I think you find the notification somewhere to join as a listener, to join as a speaker. In case some issues prevail, I'll just invite you again to the stage. Aldin, I see you're a speaker with us today. So how are you doing?
Not too bad. Excited for this Twitter Spaces. One of my favorite projects.
Mm, that's good. That's good. Let me just handle these small little issues. I'm just going to invite everyone again to speak just to make sure everything's working nicely. So,
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
yes, hello, welcome to
Hi.
the stage.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm in
Uh,
the airport, so most of the time I'm gonna keep myself muted, but yeah, I'm here with you.
well,
And thanks for letting us
while
know.
we have you, Payu, can you tell us a bit about yourself and how you started into the crypto scene? I know you have a big history in betting, etc., and bookmaking, but maybe you can introduce yourself to everybody else.
Yeah, sure. So I am a core contributor to Azuro protocol, and the way I entered the crypto scene was through buying Bitcoin in 2017. With a couple of friends. But then we started researching, I mean, crypto in general and Web3, obviously. Uh, and um, and we discovered that smart contracts are a threat to our existing business, which is a review website for gambling. We are the biggest media about sports betting in our region. And we understood that smart contracts are going to disrupt the review website business because people don't need to trust anyone if they're betting through smart contracts. And yeah, understanding this threat made us to think about launching a protocol. Like if people trust code more than they trust humans, then we need to allow them to place bets through code, and that's where Azuro was born.
So your idea of the Azure protocol was to decentralize not only the betting aspect itself, but also the front end interfaces, which I always found interesting. And like, was this one of the earliest iterations that you always thought, like, how do we decentralize this? Like, let's enable front ends, or did that came a bit later? And after you've just established the code, how this would actually work?
Well, Azure is a technology. Like we're not accepting bets. We're the just the technology where liquidity providers are providing liquidity, and there's Oracle, which is managing the bets. And obviously, we need an interface which will interact like user interface where people will be able to place the bets, right? And yeah, that's in the design of Azuro. So anyone can launch a front end on Azuro technology. It's permissionless. Yeah, which we have seen a couple of times already. Like there's two or more front ends working
And
using Azure.
how did you solve your dependence on like the data feeds of like the results? Because you have to create these markets, right? For every sports match, there's a market for it. Have you decentralized this aspect, or are we heavily reliant on like an oracle?
So right now there's one Oracle. It's Pinnacle Sports is providing the data for the odds, but by design it can be more than one. So we assume, more folks will join.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can hear a little busyness here. Let's introduce Victor. Victor, are you there?
Hey everyone. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you give us a quick
Super.
introduction of like how you're working on the protocol and what you've been up to lately?
Yeah, thanks a lot for hosting this. Yeah, a few words about myself. I've been in the space since 2018, probably, and actually, my journey in sports betting and generally this industry started after meeting P. So since then, yeah, we've been working on different stuff together. And as he mentioned, this idea of our business being disrupted was the catalyst for our decision to try and go for a new kind of way of thinking about this industry in general, right? So when we were designing the protocol, I would say we tried to look at different stakeholders. Obviously, having some experience as an affiliate, we also tried to look at things from their side. So I think Azuro is a nice possibility for affiliates to set up front ends in future and actually monetize their own user base, having their own users. They can basically provide the best experience for their own users, understanding them better. So this user knowledge base is very powerful in my view. And if you have this clear understanding who is your user, basically you have the persona of the user, you can really make a nice product for them. And I think this front end idea has actually made this a step closer to the user, because the front end is just focused on just providing the best experience he can, and instead of working on odds and all that stuff. So basically we leave sort of every side of the bookmaker business to an expert, sort of. That's the idea, that the expert in odds will make the best odds. The best front ends will make super products for their users. The LPs will LP. So yeah, I think that's a new way of thinking about it.
So if you're talking about personas, right? Like what kind of personas do you see coming through the journey right now? Like, do you have a specific geographic that's like really using this heavily? And how do you see what do you see the biggest struggles or the biggest problems with onboarding like all these new users from the big betting sites, which are, I think Bet365 was the biggest one. I'm not sure about the data. You will probably have that.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, we are the protocol level. So I think this is actually the work for front ends to work on this. From what we know, from what we have chatted with the front ends, we can say that they have for the moment. I don't think there is this exact persona, sort of who is the sports bettor in crypto kind of. I think there's a huge stuff, a huge variety of countries players come from. Some front ends block certain geos, others don't. So I don't think there is just this one geo which is, like dominating. Rather, I think it's just spread all over the world. And obviously, crypto isn't in the best state of its own. So, yeah, right now you really have in crypto the diehards, those who are here and building something. But I think you can see the spikes in activities, and I think that means that there is just when as soon as the product gets good enough, the spike comes up, So I think it was World Cup when we had a nice spike, and lately in May we had a really nice spike in activities. I think that's due to the updates of the product and the fact that users are trying it out and they like it more, and there is interest to that, to the sport of the day, basically, because if right now in summertime there's not much activity because it's just not that interesting to follow sports. Everybody's worried about finding the best beach and having some nice suntan. So I think that's important as well.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that because it's tennis season. So Wimbledon is coming up. We just had the French Open, and I'm going to Queens, which is also happening on Saturday and Sunday, the finals as well. But in terms of the protocol itself, you guys had a couple of updates, right? I think one of them was like express betting, which is like the combination and stuff. I think you have now enabled, for people to become liquidity providers and also taking the house action. Is that only reserved for the front ends? Like, if I was a regular user, can I now add liquidity and start earning as well, or is that only reserved for whitelisted front ends?
Anyone can LP right now in USDTs or on Polygon or XDAIs on Gnosis chain. So it's absolutely open to the market. We've had some nice revenues for LPs there. We have some of our team members LPing, and we've got a nice about 20% revenues in Gnosis. So we have it's proven that it works. In terms of the updates, I think what you're talking about is combo bets. That was a massive one for us because there is a whole lot of stuff that actually needs to be really stable before you can offer such high risk products like combos. So we really had to work hard since March, I think. We were working on stabilizing the product because there's a lot of stuff related to the sort of under the hood stuff which nobody sees. It's the data coming in, the shifts in markets, in the sports, and cancellations, all that stuff. It's not that easy to deal with. And you have to deal with that before you actually can launch something like combos. So combos have been pretty successful, and people are enjoying it from what we can say. And I think it's one of the top products right now.
Okay, great. Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, in terms of user experience, I think Mike is with us. He's more. He can speak more about that. And
just before we get to user experience and account abstraction, what are the next big things that are coming for the protocol level itself, from Azuro side?
So, of course, we are probably. I'll just give you a spoiler. We're starting to build the version 3, which will be a much more robust liquidity pool as well. We're really at early stage, but that will be done in the coming months and hopefully released in Q4 or Q1. In terms of sports, we would really like to have more offerings. We would really love to add horse racing, cricket, snooker, maybe other stuff. probably in terms of markets, we're really going for the exact score market. Hopefully, we can launch it by September. That's something people really love, and we haven't had it yet. So
Do you think
yeah.
we will ever come to the stage where the oracles are also decentralized and the odds making is somebody who's like doing it in a decentralized ways instead of relying just on, I think you guys said Pinnacle Sports. Do you think that's ever going to happen in the future?
I think it's possible. Probably not in the very short term, but rather midterm. It will be more efficient as well in some ways. There are different ways of doing it, right? Maybe you can have a consensus type of thing between oracles. Maybe you can have a mathematical model on the in the smart contracts. There are different ways of basically doing it. There's probably a hybrid somewhere there. But then at the end of the day, someone has to provide the first data and the last data, right? So there are many ways of doing it. Right now, we are more going with the way of thinking, like optimistic way of thinking. So we have one provider, we feel that he's trustworthy, and we're just taking the starting odds and the results. Everything else is happening on chain. So all the changes in the protocol happen on chain. Every time when someone bets on any of the front ends, the odds change, and maybe a little bit later, we feel that the odds can change in different markets. Even if you bet, for example, on goals, the odds might change for other markets, and this is if sort of the model is on chain. That's what we are thinking about right now.
Cool. Well, let's introduce Michael. Michael, are you there?
Yes.
Hey, Michael, can you give us a quick introduction about yourself and what you are mostly focused on at Azuro?
Oh, yes. I joined the team around a year ago, and I was also always fascinated with how technology could be made accessible, be it in the machine learning or now it's in the blockchain. It's always a challenge. And here, I'm also concentrated, and my main goal is to help our front ends to solve this problem. Let's say it's all of adoption, because all new technology always faces the adoption issues, right? So I do everything to help them.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about the Etherspot integration with Bookmaker. Account abstraction by itself is like trying to fix this user experience, right? Like, how do we make it as potentially possible? Like, can you explain to us like how you've used like Etherspot into Bookmaker also? What was the thinking about it?
Yeah, of course. So it was some times ago when we had this understanding that our most users are still crypto oriented, right? So they are crypto savvy, but if you look at the market, the amount of users in general betting is much more than the bettors in crypto, right? So this is a obvious goal. We want our front ends to be successful and to be able to acquire the general bettors. So this is where we get to know each other, and we started to think how Etherspot could fit here and help us. And we have some steps in this road. So what I see, one of our front ends, which is Bookmaker, they have implemented the login by the using the social networks. And we see some traction in this. The adoption of this feature. But anyway, still, the most of our users still came from the crypto sources, and so I can't say that most of our people are general bettors now. This is a way to go, and I see big potential here. I think that next task we need to solve is funding. Because Etherspot was very helpful. We solved this task of so people don't have to have the gas to pay. I mean, for instance, when people bet on Polygon, they obviously need gas, not only the USDT. And now it's solved, and people can just pay for gas in USDT, which is convenient, especially for general people who don't know about this kind of stuff. And they won't bother themselves. They just go away to and bet with someone else. So this is one example of how Etherspot helping us. Another one is I think is about UX of funding. And moving funds in is the next problem.
Yeah, I think like for like if we're looking at like, I would love your opinion of like how do we make it as attractive as possible for these Web2 users to onboard, not just on betting, but like everywhere, like in this ecosystem, and like how account abstraction can help with that. Like streamlining certain things and not signing and not token allowance approvals and all this complex stuff, and of course recovery later on too. But I think fundamentally for your project, unlike any front end that's dealing with decentralized betting, you come to the obstacle of the fiat on ramp. And I think right now the major obstacle is that there's only one from Switzerland, which our previous call was with the CEO from MT Pellerin. If you're interested, you should definitely listen to that. How do you guys see this evolving? Because like every fiat on ramp, the due diligence is quite hard, and almost every one of them are saying like no gambling, no gambling, no gambling. Like, do you envision that this is going to change? Is there a workaround around this? Like, how do you see this progressing in order to overcome this hurdle?
Well, there are several possible ways. So first is not on ramp, but just integration with exchanges. There is a product named LayerSwap, and we spoke recently. They provide very nice integration with Coinbase. So people just from the sex could easily move funds to the destination wallets. So I like it a lot. So this is one possible way of solving this task is using some intermediary who do not need to do KYC, etc. Right? One possible way. And another one is, yes, of course, if there will be more services which will serve this intermediary way, so we'll be very glad. What else? I don't know. I see a lot of using of these Transact, etc., on-ramp services without integration. I mean, they just provide links to the external interface where you can buy crypto. But anyway, this is again, this is not convenient. If you interrupt the user flow, they will try.
Yeah, I think you were talking to me like a couple of weeks ago about, or maybe it was Victor, about stake.com, which is basically a custodial, nothing really decentralized about it. And they are doing a revenue of like 4 billion or something like that. It started in 2017. And people don't seem to be bothered too much about like onboarding. So apparently it is possible to do it, which is very surprising to me because the user experience must be great because you are losing control of your assets because you're depositing in a custodial solution. But people are okay with that for now, at least. Do you think that's probably not going to be that big of a problem, the fiat on-ramp then, in that scenario? Because I think it's always a big problem, but apparently it's not that big of a problem.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it's a usual problem. I'll say it that way. I think payments have been essential throughout different geos. Always for betting, the betting payments have always been considered high risk. There have been a lot of chargebacks. So, I mean, the payments are also very expensive for centralized bookmakers as well. So payments has always been a problem, sort of. That was been always the situation. But I think at the end of the day, there are solutions. People can go do the KYC and deposit get some crypto through a fiat ramp, right? I think that will always be there, and hopefully someday we will come up to a position when a wallet will be already KYC'd maybe in some way, and there are many ways to do it. Maybe there could have been maybe there can be an NFT which is KYC'd, and if I have it, that means it's my my wallet.
That is
And
that is a problem that's been existent for years, and nobody has solved it. And the reason why nobody has solved it is that people don't trust other people's KYC. So if you're using one fiat on ramp, you have to KYC on their terms and conditions. It's a really pain in the ass, and I really absolutely hate the whole process of like document uploads, take a screenshot. None of that is really great, and you lose control over your data as well, which is not great either. So I don't think we're going to have a solution for that anytime soon. There are like decentralized DIDs identity solutions, but even those guys are just not there yet. I don't think that we're going to be able to solve that riddle. But coming back to account abstraction and like how we can solve this item, like a while ago, Michael was telling me like we should like start thinking about like exploring an app option. And I think 2 months ago or 3 months ago, iOS and Apple released an update for progressive web apps, which allows push notifications, etc. Is that the direction that the front ends are going to go taking? And this is more of a question for Michael. Do you think that front ends are going to start decentralizing the app experience so you don't publish anymore to app stores? Is that the way that we're going towards? And how quickly is that going to happen?
That's possible. That's possible, and we explore these hypotheses. So I can say that I personally believe in this idea, and well, we'll see. Maybe we should host another Twitter space and talk about lessons learned in several months. So personally, I believe yes, because now it's very easy. You can easily turn any website into the PWA, and again, our experiments show that Etherspot is working there, so you can mimic like people have already MetaMask or whatever wallet, so they don't need it, and the app should behave like an app, and it should be much more convenient than switching between the wallet and user interface.
Do you think we're ever going to
Browser,
get
whatever.
to the stage that it's so quick enough that you're going to give this proper experience? Like even with account abstraction, right? Where we're abstracting away a lot of the things like approvals, need for gas tokens, etc., etc. We still have the blockchain to deal with. And the blockchain is always going to be like, even Polygon, the more it users use it, the less quick it is. And do you think we're going to have to educate users on like what is happening on the background, or will we ever get to this stage of like you don't have to explain anything?
My current thinking is we can solve it with UX tweaks. I mean, I see a lot on other betting sites that when you make a bet, they tell you that it's done, right? That you claimed it, but actually it's not. And only after the confirmation of the transaction, its money will show to you. Right, so there are many tweaks and that UX designer could implement to smooth this experience. So people don't make bets. I mean, every second, right? So No,
What about
I do not believe in education. I believe in UX.
well, how about live betting, for example? Like literally, you would have an odd, and you will execute the bet, but then the transaction is not coming through for like 30 seconds, and maybe that event has happened. Are you guys tackling this kind of problem as well? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, currently, of course, there is we visualize all the life cycle of the bet. So when it's not confirmed, it's shown in that state. You see that something is going on. You can go and look at the scan. So currently, we showed everything. But again, this is all crypto oriented. Only crypto educated people can and need to go and dig. I think if we explore more this crypto abstracted kind of UX, we'll hide everything. Again, this is all the field of the experiments and hypotheses. And we have we have a lot of possibilities, and no one know what's wrong or what's right. This is a process of exploration.
Do you guys think overall, and this is a question for everyone, that this decentralized betting angle is going to change the landscape of online betting completely? Like, do you suspect that we're going to be taking, or you're going to be taking a lot of the market share from online betting from these big companies that are already in existence?
I mean, it all depends on the technological aspects, of course, and I think the user experience. If blockchain speeds, finalities are good enough, if the prices of transactions are low enough, and we can get a bet confirmed in a second, and the user experience of placing this bet is smooth, as simple as with centralized bookmakers, then of course yes, because everything else is better, right? So, for example, the mobile betting problem, because the majority of betting is done via mobile apps right now, and obviously all of the front ends we have now are more desktop focused, and generally crypto market is more desktop focused, because I think there are more traders, sort of. The profile of a crypto native guy is different than to a classical better. So if you try and place a bet from your mobile wallet in MetaMask, it's a pain. It's not that easy. So I think there are all these issues that need to be tackled and solved. And if they are solved, I'm sure, like, the other advantages of the security, the permissionlessness will be enough to bring massive adoption.
Okay. Now, talking about regulation, like we see a lot of pushback. Obviously, front ends choose to geo restrict somehow and like that. Like, how have you guys? What is your thinking about this in the thinking of like building this protocol that you know how much control do you actually have over the protocol itself, and do you think that's a risk for you guys already, or not at all, or like what's your thinking about like regulation side?
So Azuro is open source, and we as a team are basically developers, product developers, and that's why also the design is to have front ends who are very expert in their local markets. They know their users, they know their regulations. So it's basically up to them to choose how to work, how to operate. And of course, there are different possibilities. There are licenses, there are offshore licenses like Curacao. There are licenses for European markets like the Maltese license, which are actually not that not that expensive, and front end could get it easily, I would say.
So you see the evolution coming from the front end that's like basically gets a license but still uses the back end for the technology of Azure protocol. Is that?
I think, yeah, that will be the case. That should be the case, at least from what we see. Of course, there's no legislation or whatsoever that we can right now work with, but that would come to that. I think it will come to that. But,
Okay. So I have a specific question for Michael, since you're dealing with the UX. Like, where do you think the power of account abstraction or Etherspot comes into play? Do you think that normal crypto users will ever become comfortable with using a smart contract-based wallet, or do you think we should all just be focusing on Web2 users who have no idea how to save 12 words or use MetaMask?
Well, I have the feedback from crypto users who are also developers, and they share this feeling that using the account abstraction is convenient for them as well, because there are several reasons. First, using of your, let's call, main account leave traces, right? So maybe you don't want to announce publicly on blockchain that you are betting, right? So, and second reason is security. So there are so when you have one wallet for one specific task, this is slightly more secure than you always use one wallet with all your funds, right? So this is another idea. So all in all, summing it, I would say that currently I see this as a help, as a trading account. So not so regular Web2 users, they will use these apps front ends, like they don't know about crypto and they have to walk this journey without knowing of the crypto, right? So they log in with Google account, they deposit their funds, although it's not depositing, right? We all know it, but they, in their minds, they deposit it, and then they bet. When they need it, they withdraw their money, and they're happy, right? But if they and it's our task to educate them. If they want to dig inside and in depth, they will realize that there is a trading account which they have, which they can handle. They can move their funds in any moment, and this technology is more secure and convenient for them if they want to learn about it. So this is just the problem is on onboarding, right? And after onboarding, after adoption, we can and we need to educate people about crypto and all the benefits of it.
So speaking of security features, like one of the best things about smart contract-based wallets and account abstraction is programmability, right? You can program a smart contract-based wallet to, like, for example, only interact with Azuro protocol or only withdraw to a certain address, basically, that you own. Like, do you think there's a use case for something like that in the security feature set, or do you think we should allow the user to do whatever they want and interact with every protocol, whatever is going to happen? I'm thinking specifically in the decentralized betting space. Like, is there a use case for something like that?
Well, of course, I would vote for first option. So no, this is an account for betting, and that's it. If they want to, they could move to yes, another wallet, etc. Because I am voting for security.
And just a quick question: like, do you guys provide the list, like the most successful? Because on Twitter and like everywhere else, there's like a lot of these gamblers and like a lot of these people that are like, follow me for my bets. Have you guys ever considered like creating a leaderboard of like people that they can copy instantly their bets and like what they're doing for this day and stuff like that? Do you guys track that?
I know there is a Dune dashboards, and here people can see the champions of the betting.
Okay, cool. So one of the use cases that I always thought was interesting is like if you look at the market, like let's say eToro, right? eToro allows you to copy the best traders, and I always wanted to have like the programmability of a smart contract based wallet to like copy the trades of this particular user. So like if they're doing bets, that it will automatically follow these bets for me. So I'll just deposit 100, or 1,000 or something like that, and I'll select that address that's like being most successful, and I'll just follow everything that they're doing on the Azuro protocol. I always thought that was a great use case. And like, is that something that you would consider in the future, or it doesn't benefit you because you get too many people winning?
Well, as a mathematician, I will tell you that we should consider this use case because it's quite the opposite. We will get more people losing. Because when you copy bets for after someone else, you take odds on the worse in worse numbers than the original bet. Okay, so it was in some situation when somebody which is champion decided it's a good idea to bet, right? And when you repeat the bet after them, you take worse bets.
Because the odds would decrease.
So
Okay, yeah.
yeah, so for front ends for ecosystem, this is a good idea. Yes, it's a very good idea. But I mean for bettors, I wouldn't do that.
Okay, fair enough. All right. I think we're almost at the hour. It's unfortunate that probably that was at the airport. Probably, are you still there? He's unfortunately. I think he's at the airport. But I think that's it. I have no more question for you guys. Do you guys have any questions for Etherspot or anything that you want to talk about?
I think from my side, I have a question like, what are your plans on basically making Etherspot like the main sort of actor in this field of account abstraction? Maybe you can tell us, give us a sneak peek in your plans as well.
Sure.
And actually, it would be really interesting to hear from you, like about payment gateways and what's your view of that. Do you plan on integrating any? Because I feel that the more stuff you have on your side, the better it is for front ends, and easier and better is the UI.
Yeah, for sure. So on our side, we've been in this space for like the last 3 years or 2 years in Etherspot, and our infrastructure is reliant on our own relays. And when this new standard came out, the 43.7 standard, which uses an infrastructure on the blockchain that is slightly different than ours, we needed to adapt. So we're releasing, Etherspot Prime with our own bundlers, with our that are now available online. Polygon is available. I think we launched on Optimism, Arbitrum. We're going to be adding more chains to that. So there's like a whole new infrastructure that is way cooler than our own infrastructure, because what happens if we are down, the user cannot do anything, for example, but it's very unlikely that it will happen. So our CTO is also working on something called P2P. So this might get a bit technical, but the bundle service basically submits transactions to the mempool, combining it with other ones. The problem is that what if one bundler doesn't really work and the user needs to do another bundler? So this is where an application of P2P, peer-to-peer processing, comes in. And I think that's going to be, like in the next couple of months, going to be a big upgrade on the whole infrastructure, and we are playing a crucial role within that sector. So that's one aspect on the technological side. So Etherspot Prime is the big release that's coming on that side, and hopefully, front ends will upgrade to this new version. Next to that, we need to solve the onboarding questions. So there's a lot of partners that we're using. So Web3Auth is one of them, obviously. There's a new one called Rollup ID, which is quite interesting, the way that they are leveraging their identity management, because with Web3Auth, you have a project ID that's very specific to a project. So, for example, Bookmaker, like if I log in with my Google account there, I have a different address than if I use Web3Auth in another dApp. It's creating a different address. So what Rollup ID solves is that you can connect with the same address to the same login, which is quite interesting. But again, they are also quite gated. So we're introducing another partner called DAuth. We're going to be adding those, and they do a decentralized authentication sequence. So those are the traditional social logins. But what I'm really personally excited about is passkeys. And if you guys are unfamiliar with passkeys, I would definitely explore. Passkeys is kind of like an old school way. If you ever use Unix or like a terminal and open SSH, it's a very cool way of like logging into applications without a password. And it's getting major support by Apple, by macOS, by Android, by Google. Everybody is supporting this standard, so they can move people over from passwords and email logins to just email login. And your private key is then stored on your device, and that private key is then encrypted completely. So, for example, Apple cannot have access to it, but you can share it to AirDrop with another user. So I think this is the future. And I think this is the best way to go about onboarding Web2 users once it becomes publicly available and more adopted. I think Amazon is starting to support it as well soon. There's like loads of big companies supporting this technology. So solving passkeys is one of the coolest things that we'll be working on as well. We're going to do a POC soon about that. Next to that, I think we're going to be building more tools for developers, so like React components, etc. And there's one really cool project that we have. It's a subset of what we're doing. It's called Transaction Kit. And basically what Transaction Kit does is that if you have a front end or a dApp that has all these functions that are React based, and they're all focused on the MetaMask experience, right? So a proof token and like you need to get the gas and stuff like that. Transaction Kit allows you to like basically in HTML coding to like aggregate all those transactions and make it an account abstraction dApp. So that is like very dev friendly. You really have to be like I don't know. It's super easy to use for developers because they can just take whatever they have and make a very cool account abstraction app. So we'll be doing this kind of use cases and examples of like existing dApps to showcase how easily this can be done. Our developer relation person Taylor is going to be like doing a couple of videos on this. So those are the major things that we'll be working on. Is that more options for users on like social login for developers or dApps. We're going to be integrating passkeys as well that fixes onboarding. So yeah, lots of good things coming. So guys, I think we're almost at the hour. I really want to thank you guys. Always fun to chat with the Azuro guys and the protocol. I want to thank Victor for coming and Michael. Sorry we didn't hear too much about from the CEO. Unfortunately, the timing was not correct. So thank you guys for coming.
Thank you for having us today.
Thanks, Alvin. Thank you very much.
Take care, guys. Have a good day.
Take care. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thank you everyone for joining. Just to let everyone know, the recording will be live tomorrow, I believe, on YouTube. So those who have perhaps joined us late or just want to hear over things again, there'll be timestamps on YouTube tomorrow on the Etherspot channel. We'll let you know via social media. So don't miss that in case you just want to listen to this once more, or like I said before, if you are late to the call. So thank you everyone for joining. Enjoy your day, and that will be it from us.